Inside a hospital room, the room is silent, except for one sound. Your heart just stopped. A second ago, it was beating. Now, it isn't. Your brain hasn't shut down yet. In fact, something extraordinary is just beginning. Even today, scientists are still trying to understand exactly what's happening. So, what happens over the next 60 seconds? Let's begin. Your heart has stopped. Blood flow has stopped. Your brain is no longer receiving oxygen. Normally, this is where the story should have ended. But scientists still had one unanswered question. The moment the heart stopped, what was really happening inside the brain? In 2013, Dr. Jima Borjigin and her team set out to find the answer. They monitored the brains of rats, and they saw something they never expected: a surge. Within 30 seconds after cardiac arrest, neural activity increased instead of decreasing. The numbers were astonishing. Serotonin increased nearly 60-fold. Dopamine increased between 40 and 60-fold. And norepinephrine, the chemical that helps keep you highly alert, rose by nearly 100-fold. According to Borjigin, seeing levels this high in a living animal would be impossible. The brain wasn't shutting down the moment oxygen disappeared. Instead, it unleashed everything it had, one last time. But this was a rat's brain, and it immediately raised an important question. Could the same thing happen in the human brain? To answer that question, scientists needed to study not a rat, but a real human brain. They would have to wait another 10 years. In 2023, Borjigin was no longer in a laboratory. She was in an intensive care unit. Borjigin and her team monitored the brain activity of 4 comatose patients as they were taken off life support. In 2 of the patients, they observed a surge of gamma waves, the same brain waves associated with consciousness, just like the surge they had seen in rats back in 2013. Even more interesting, this activity appeared in the back of the brain, where the regions responsible for vision and hearing come together. But this is where things become even more fascinating, because people who have returned from clinical death often describe experiences that could potentially be explained by this burst of brain activity. A bright light, the feeling of floating above their own body, and an overwhelming sense of peace. But here's the most interesting part. My life flashed before my eyes. Most people assume that means the biggest moments: graduation, a wedding, their first love. But people who have actually experienced it describe something very different. An old toy you held as a child, the creaking sound of a door you heard years ago, a few ordinary seconds spent looking out a window on a rainy day. Simple, seemingly insignificant moments. It's almost as if the brain opens every page of your life, all at once. But why? No one knows. Perhaps that final burst of brain activity makes even memories that haven't been accessed for years available once again. For now, we simply don't have a definitive answer. Now let's go back to the body. About 30 seconds after your heart stops, your blood can no longer deliver oxygen. The oxygen is still inside your body. The problem is, it is no longer being carried anywhere. The brain is one of the first organs to notice, because the brain does not like to wait. Your cells begin to sense the change. Normally, they produce energy with oxygen. But when oxygen stops arriving, they switch to their backup system. Anaerobic respiration begins. It is a last defense mechanism trying to keep you going for just a few more minutes. It can provide energy for a short time, but it leaves lactic acid behind. Acidity rises inside the body, the chemical balance starts to break down, and the muscles begin to lose their commands. Your jaw relaxes, your pupils dilate. Their reaction to light weakens, then disappears. The eyes that normally follow the world now seem to be fixed on a single point. From the outside, it looks like everything is over. But this is where the real question begins. Is all of this just the final trick of a dying brain? Or is it something else we still cannot explain? Dr. Sam Parnia and his team followed that question through the AWARE studies. They examined remembered experiences during and after resuscitation in patients who had suffered cardiac arrest. In the AWARE-2 study, published in 2023, about 39% of the cardiac arrest survivors who could be interviewed reported memories or experiences that resembled a sense of consciousness from that period. About 21% described deeper, more structured, and more transformative death experiences. Some said they heard sounds in the room. Some said they felt as if they had left their body. Some said they were not alone. These studies show us this. We may not understand as clearly as we think what happens inside the human mind during cardiac arrest. What looks like shutdown from the outside may be one last flash on the inside. Now we are at the 60-second mark. The body is still warm. The skin has only just begun to pale. The balance inside the cells starts to collapse. Membranes weaken. Enzymes begin to leak from the places where they are supposed to stay. This is the beginning of autolysis, the process of cells starting to break themselves down. But this is still not an irreversible point. That is why the first minute matters so much. This is one of the most critical windows in medicine, because the right intervention, especially CPR, is not about magically restarting the heart in an instant. It is about buying time for the brain. Chest compressions do not circulate blood perfectly, but they can send at least some oxygen-rich blood to the brain and the heart. That small flow can become a bridge between life and death until a defibrillator arrives or medical help takes over. Brain cells are extremely sensitive to oxygen deprivation. Permanent damage can begin within minutes. 4 minutes can be critical. 6 minutes can be too late. But in the first minute, the fight is not over yet. 1 minute. From the outside, it looks very short. Inside, it is a vast stretch of time in which every system in the body is trying to resist one last time. Your heart has gone silent. The blood seems still. The muscles have loosened. The cells are waiting for oxygen. And maybe, before the brain fully shuts down, it brings a few pieces of your life back in front of you one last time. Maybe a familiar voice at a dinner table. Maybe those few seconds when you held someone's hand. Just 2 small moments. But maybe that is exactly what life is. Most people who come back do not say they wanted more money, more success, or a bigger title. They say they wanted more time, more real moments, a life with fewer things they wish they had not postponed. That is why the first minute of death is not only an ending. It is the place where the body keeps resisting, where the brain keeps searching for meaning, and where the true value of time appears all at once. Because sometimes, the thing that changes a life is not years. It is one single minute that was given back.